Hello, welcome to Marketing Matters, the show where we explore all things marketing and uncover those things that matter for you and your success. I'm your host, Denise Millet, and my hope and mission is to make marketing and technology bring it to you in a way that's useful without jargon, complexity, or confusion, so you can grow your business, expand your impact in the world, and build your best life. Today's episode is called What is Findability? And we're going to look at the topic of findability and how it can impact your business. Before we dive in, though, I want to share a quote with you from Peter Morville. He's a thought leader, pioneer in the field of information architecture and user experience, and he's got 1 million best-selling books that he's been training people how to approach information and what findability really means in our world. He says that findability precedes usability in the alphabet and on the web. You can't use what you can't find. And I want everybody to remember this, that our people are looking for something. If they can't find you, they can't use what you have and they can't do business with you. So let's move on. Okay, so findability. What is it, right? Findability has two different aspects to it that I want to talk about today. There is the aspect of identifying the words your audience will use to find you and using them in your content. So now we talked about this in our last episode about keywords and findability, right? This is the connection of what you have to what they're looking for and getting those words to connect so that when they search for you using Google search, Google has you cataloged as referring to those words or that question or that phrase, and that makes the connection. So you may show up in search results, so your audience may click on you and come to your site. That is one pathway to findability. The other is from social media. Obviously, if you're using a message that resonates with people or an image that resonates with them, they may come to your site. And so it's words and meanings, messages that you are putting out there into the world, because we don't know where people are coming from. We're putting them out there and we're hoping, or we're not hoping, hope isn't the great word. We are banking on connecting with those people that are searching for that thing, okay, or what we have to offer, what we're describing. And that's one aspect of findability. The other is also making sure your audience can find what they need when they choose to see your content, okay? Once they're a viewer of your content, they actually get what they came for. And it's also, once they visit you in your site, or if they generically came from a message in social media to your website, making sure that they can find what they need on your site. Okay, so imagine you walked into a library and instead of a card catalog or a computer to look up a book, everybody just said, just go look, it's out there, go find it. And there was no guide, there was no order to it in any way, shape, or form. That's pretty frustrating. And I bet that they may not want to come back to that library again. They might go searching for another library that had a better way of doing it, right? So that's kind of a small microcosm or a big idea of what we don't want. We don't want people to be frustrated when they get to us. So we're connecting with words, right? As I mentioned before, we discussed how keywords and phrases your audience may use to search for solutions online, right? So we're talked about including these words so the search engines show our content to the searcher when they visit Google, right? I want you to also think about the themes we use and the titles to our pages or our blogs or our podcasts. How can each one of those in words respond to an idea that our audience might be noodling with, might be figuring out. So let's say you're a business owner and you're trying to decide whether you should open an online store, right? So you have a brick and mortar store, you're doing fairly well. People have been telling you should sell online for years and years, and you deliver online. If somebody comes in the store and they want something delivered, you'll deliver it. Or if someone calls you, you'll send it. But you're not sure you want to put your products online. Do you, as a person who provides online stores, a provider like a Shopify or another provider that might manage that, have a product related to that, are you speaking to that person? Do you have an article that says, here are the 5 steps to decide if you're a good candidate for an online store? Because, this person is probably saying, I don't know if it fits for me. I don't know if having an online store fits for my business. So you having a blog post or a podcast that talks all about that subject puts you in a place where the spotlight can come to you, because not a lot of people are talking about that, or find a subject that's common but not so common that there's a lot of other information out there about it. You address the whole topic, right? You don't want to just have the title and have no meat to it underneath. You have to actually provide good information for them that helps them come to a resolution of some sort, because they came with a question. They really want to go with an answer. Because if you think about, if you go in somewhere with a question and you don't come out with an answer, you're pretty frustrated, right? You're like, oh, what a waste of time. You don't want people to think you're a waste of time when they visit you, right? And you also, the other aspect of findability is helping them find the right path to their needs on your site or in your content. Not info overload like this picture is, where you just have a million things to look at and there's no rhyme or reason to how they're all connected. They're just pinned up there. You look around, see what you can find, hunt and peck for whatever you need, as opposed to presenting a clear path through menus, a clean design. They can, they see cues and headings and subheadings and buttons that show them actions they can take to find what they need. So it's thoughtful planning in an orderly way. Now, a lot of people talk about the search journey, the customer journey, all these things. And it's basically, for me, the journey on your site is coming in with a question and having it clearly obvious how you can go from point A to point B to point C to find what they need. And if that means you have a menu at the top and there are drop downs and they can categorize in subcategories to get what they need, perfect. If it means you have a side menu of categories in your blog that they could click on subjects to get it narrowed down, something closer to what they need, or whether you have a box at the top, there's a search box in your website that just says they can put one word in there or two, and it'll show them all the content that matches that. You know your audience. You know with your subject matter what's more appropriate for your audience to use. Whatever it is, it's a thoughtful plan for what you want them to do once they get there, so that they're satisfied and that reflects positively on you. The other aspect of findability is how inviting it is. I've talked about the tone you set with your site, right? Clean design. If you see this window right here, it's busy, right? There's flowers all over. I picked this image. If you've watched the show before, I love this image. And it would be my dream place to work amongst the flowers, right? But it doesn't tell you clearly what they do. It doesn't tell you if they just dry flowers, if they create arrangements, if they sell bouquets. It doesn't really tell you what it does. It just shows the beautiful flowers and the beautiful subject. Try not to be that beautiful place that is so beautiful, but it doesn't tell you what it does, okay? Or it doesn't tell you what it's about. Because if there's ambiguity, even if it's warm, even if it's inviting. If it's ambiguous and they get there, they're going to be like, they can make a judgment instantly and say, this isn't for me. This isn't what I wanted. Okay, so just be clear about what you present. Pick your central theme on your homepage or your other pages that use images that highlight the content. Don't write the content for the images. You know what I mean? So the message, the question, the theme of what you're talking about is more important than the beauty of it. Okay? So another thing we talk about is signage. Signage in a brick and mortar store tells people what to expect, whether they're welcome, where to go, where something is, where the dressing room is, where the cash register is, right? Which way to go to customer service. You need those things, and they have to be clear and inviting, right? If it's a menu at the top, that's fine. If it's consistent across every page, that's even better, right? Because then they know how to get back and forth and how to move around, and there's not frustration involved in it. So the other thing to think about is illuminate their path with buttons along the way. And readable fonts that aren't fancy or scripty or look really cool or flash or do anything like that, but they're readable. Readable on phones, readable on tablets, readable on desktops, wherever they're going to be, make it easy on them. So let's say you have an article that's got 4 different points to it. You're saying 4 different steps to know if you're a candidate to have an online store. Well, you can have all 4 of the points have a subheading. So if someone's scanning, they see the 4 points laid out clearly. That way, if the person is skimming, they know right away whether it's worth them going deeper and reading further in, right? And then at the bottom of that, you'd have a button that says, or on each point, you could have a button that says, for more, let's go and talk about what this means. Point A is, and take them to another page with more in-depth information, because they might see the one topic they're looking for. What is my product line? Here are the product lines that are most successful in online stores. Well, if your point was certain product lines do better than others in online stores as your subheading, and then within that you said, so take a look at these 4 types of products that do best in online stores, and you had a button that took them to a subpage that they could come back. Then they get that additional information in the text or in another page if it's too much to put within the text. Do you see what I mean? So you're like, in essence, I hate to even say this, but writing a report for a research paper or something that you're telling people a how-to manual. You don't just put it all in one big thing of text, right? You break it up, you put headings and subheadings, and then offshoots go into an appendix or, another chapter, send them to another chapter. Think in terms of that and how they're going to take the information in. Make it very clear. Give them opportunities to jump ahead if they're not following straight through and they see the 4 points, and then there's an opportunity for them to go more in depth. And they're ready for that because they don't want to read the actual detail. They just want to skim the headings. Okay, this is appropriate for me. I need more info. And they go forward. So I talk a lot about giving helpful and useful information. Part of that is not just making the connection with them in Findability, but giving them Findability once they get to your site, helping them along to find what they need. And if that means you live in their shoes and say, okay, I'm a fast learner, I know these things, I'm trying to find out more about the profit margins for online stores, I might come here and say, here are the candidates for online stores that do best, and I'm looking for profit margins. They might go to the 3rd point and see profit margins are higher for these kinds of products. I want more information about that. We'll give them a way to get it without just getting the highest level of generic information, and then they spend 2 minutes on your site, they don't get an answer, and they leave. And they're dissatisfied, and it hasn't helped you at all, right? So think about the depth of coverage in the content so that they don't leave without an answer. even if they end up going to another page, make the route easy for them and understandable. Use links internally to other pages, or links even to reference articles that other people have written. That's very helpful for users. Some people don't. Some people say, keep them on your site, keep them on your site. Well, we're not about manipulating people. We're about satisfying people's needs. And if they came to my site and I provide services and I gave information about something, but there's articles that I used to help myself understand concepts, well, I'm going to point my users to those too if they want to see them, right? I'm not going to rewrite it and call it my own. I mean, I'll refer to it and I'll talk about what my take on it is, but if they want the original source of where I found this information, then I'm certainly going to share it with them. I'm certainly going to refer to a book or an author that hasn't had an impact on my thinking, because they need to know that I'm thinking, I'm reading other things, I'm reading what else is going on out there. I'm not operating in a blinders here. It's a big wide world, and I'm taking it in just like everybody else is, and I'm trying to not take ownership of other people's ideas. I'm building upon them, and I want to give them what the foundation is should they want to know, right? So don't be afraid to link to outside articles. Open them up in a new tab in the browser so they don't lose their spot in your site, and give them the opportunity to read that if they want to. So that's thinking from their perspective and what they need and what they want. So once you get them from search or from social media or wherever it is they've come to you from, make sure they can follow a path, a logical path, through menus, buttons, references to other things to get what they need. Okay, soapbox done. I want to say that every person that comes to your website should look like this when they're done. They should be happy. They should be as if they're standing in a field of sunflowers. And that's what you want. You want no frustration. You want no resistance. We want sales. We want conversions. But in the world of information, we're not just selling. We are freely exchanging information with people in the hopes that they will understand our thinking better, understand what we do, understand our perspective, so they can decide if they want to work with us. But they also need to satisfy their needs. So we're a library, we're a reference material, but we are also presenting ourselves as an opportunity and a solution. But we are reference material, and we are giving them answers. So don't skip over that and just do this piece about ourselves and our expertise and trying to engage them just for the sales and for the services. Think about what you do when you go to search and you're trying to find an answer. And you have to go to 3 or 4 websites and none of them have the content you need, and it's very frustrating. Don't be that place. Be the place that gives the information, keeps it up to date, and makes people happy so they feel like they're standing in a field of sunflowers at the end of the day. Thanks. So I'm hoping you found this helpful. I want to share with you, I have a new workshop called Simple Ways to Make Yourself Findable Today. And I want you to remember that you have to be findable, because if they can't find you, they can't do business with you. So these are the simple steps you have to take within Google to help people understand what your page is, what your content, your podcast, your blog is all about. There are simple steps you take to make sure that Google understands these things and can present them back to searching people. So you need to take these steps or everything you do is for nothing. So we want to make sure that you are included in Google, you're available to the searching public, and it's good for you and your business to be findable. Thank you. I'm so glad you could join me for this episode of Marketing Matters. I know how precious your time is, and my hope is you came away from this episode with a few nuggets you can apply to your business. My aim is to provide clear, useful info for you so you can have a thriving business, amazing relationships with your customers and clients. And as always, if you have a question, drop a post on my Facebook page called The Marketing Matters Show, The link is in my profile. And join me here next week for our next episode where we'll dive into more marketing topics and technology that matters for you. Thanks so much for your time. Bye.